A major part of adjusting images nowadays is adjusting in a color managed workflow. Let's explore a couple of details about doing it this way. I'm going to switch over to shot 24 if you want to follow along. And I'm going to close our gallery and our clips and our timeline just to make some room here. And I want to mention that it's really important to pay attention to the order in which we do things. We have all of these tools available to adjust our image, and at any point on any node, we can grab these and start messing with them. Like we sort of covered earlier, we could look at this image and say, man, this needs more contrast, and I can take my lift down and push my gain up, push my saturation up, maybe add a little S-curve for contrast, and I can get a pretty good looking result. But again, because this isn't color managed, a couple things are going to happen. One is this won't really look exactly like we intended it when we shot this. It's going to be sort of a tweaked version of it. And two, by doing it this way, you're pushing the colors around, and the only colors that you're going to be able to see are the ones that are actually available on your monitor. And so there can be other colors that are in this signal that can kind of go wherever they please. And depending on what monitor you look at them on, how you export the video, all of those things, there can be certain tones that maybe don't look good or won't pass like video standards QC for something like broadcast. And that's true for any adjustment that you make without color management. So we want to make sure that we have some sort of color management on here, whether it is in the project settings, under color management, picking this color science, YRGB color managed or ACES CCT, or by adding a color space transform effect to a node and picking the right color space settings and the right output. I would even recommend taking this gamut mapping and turning this into saturation compression, because that's going to give us our most faithful representation of what the image looked like when we actually shot it. And it's going to make sure that all of our colors are handled well. Just because we have this as a node in our node graph doesn't mean that we're all going to be set hunky-dory. This needs to be the last node in our pipeline, and all of our adjustments need to go before it. The reason for that is because we're working in what's called a wide color space. When we selected our input color space, we selected Blackmagic Design Wide Gamut Gen 4.5. And long story short, this is like a great big container, a great big playground where just about any color is possible, and it will look good and it will be treated well. And what we do is we do all of our adjustments here in the big wide color playground, and then we adapt those colors to look good on whatever monitor we choose. And that's really the job of a color space transform. So anytime that we're adjusting our colors, that needs to happen before the color space transform. We could do something after the color space transform if we want to, but unless you're really careful, you might get some unpredictable results. So as a general rule, unless you have a very specific reason to, you want to make sure that your color space transform is the last node in your pipeline. You can do this on the clips level, or you can put this as the last node in your timeline, and that would work fine too. There are also ways to group shots, which we're going to get into in a little bit, but it's the same basic idea. You keep the CST as your very last node. And now, any adjustments that we make in this node before it, we could certainly make it look bad, but then everything's going to be tamed down to work really well on our monitor. The other aspect of this that we haven't gone over yet is our timeline color space. It's a really good idea to set your timeline color space to whatever color space you're working in. In our case, let's go down to the project settings, under color management, under timeline color space, we want ours set to Blackmagic Design Film Gen 5, because that is the type of footage we have. And now any of the tools in Resolve that are designed to work in a color space like this will know exactly what color space they're working in. One of those tools is the HDR palette. And you'll notice if we move this around and do some adjusting here, and then we go back over to our timeline color space and switch this back to something like Rec 709 and hit save, our image changes a little bit because this tool acts differently depending on what our timeline color space is set as. There are adjustments that won't be affected by this, but it's always just a good idea that your timeline color space matches the color space of the majority of your clips. So Blackmagic Design Film Gen 5. That'll give you the very best accurate adjustments with the tools that actually pay attention to color space, and we're going to get into a little bit more of that later. But for now, make sure you have your timeline color space set to Blackmagic Design Film Gen 5 for the footage we're working with. If you shot in S-Log or something like that, you'd want to make sure to set that to S-Log. Make sure you have your color space transform set up with the correct input and output, and make sure that color space transform is the last node of your pipeline.